In this section of Lab Zero, you'll learn about metallographic sample preparation. The purpose of metallographic sample preparation is to have a scratch-free, defect-free surface to look at the microstructure. The first step in metallographic sample preparation is to decide where you're going to take a cut. We're going to be looking at this weld, not only the microstructure of the weld itself, but also the heat affected zones of the two pieces that were welded together. First thing we did was that we essentially cut it down to size. We cut one section off, made smaller pieces. The final cut will be done on an abrasive cutoff saw, such as one here. Open the cover once the blade has stopped. Here's our final cut. The next step is encapsulation in plastic for grinding and polishing. Next, we're going to mount the sample that we've just cut. There are two reasons why we mount samples. One is for ease of handling, the other is to minimize edge rounding. We place the sample that we've cut on the top of the mount. We're going to lower the ram add an appropriate amount of molding compound. Fasten the top of the ram, add pressure, set the appropriate heat time, and start the mounting procedure. When we're done, we'll have a sample that looks like this. Here's our sample encapsulated in plastic. The next step is fine grinding. We're going to grind this sample with 240, 320, 400, and 600 grit silicon carbide abrasives on paper. We want to remove the scratches and deformation from the previous steps in order to get a defect-free sample on the microscope when we're done polishing. As you can see with this, the scratches from the sectioning operation are running roughly horizontally. So what we want to do is grind it perpendicular to these lines. There. All the scratches from the previous operation are gone. We're now ready to move on to the 320 grit. Turn the sample 90 degrees so that the scratches from the 240 grit are running horizontal and grind on the 320 grit. And the scratches from the 240 grit are gone. Turn it 90 degrees, and we're going to do 400 grit now. And we're done with fine grinding. The next step is rough polishing. Now, it's very important to clean the sample between fine grinding and rough polishing. The cloth we'll be using is nylon. This is a 3-micron polishing compound. Put about an inch of compound on with a clean finger, spread it around, add a few drops of extender lubricant, and we're ready to polish. You want a nice film of polish on the sample. Rotate 10 times using quite a bit of pressure. Move the sample 90 degrees in your hand and polish another 10 times. Final polishing is done with 0.05 micron alumina polish on a napped cloth. This is what we want, a scratch-free surface. This is now ready for examination under the microscope. Okay, here we are at the microscope. Now, I have 3 samples here in different stages. This is as mounted, but not ground and polished. This is ground and polished. And this is etched. This one in particular is etched with 2% nitrile. Let's look at this under the microscope. Here we're looking at the structure of the weld metal itself. Here's the line between the weld metal here and the base metal. This is what it looked like before welding.